The quiet repair outpost was almost always silent at this hour. Most workers had gone back to their living pods, the long metal corridors empty except for the distant hum of machines. In one of the workshops, a young mechanic stayed behind, wiping grease off his hands after finishing a long day of work. He didn't mind late hours. He liked the calm and the freedom to work at his own pace when the rest of the world had settled down. He was about to shut down the workshop lights when an alert suddenly flashed across the small screen on the wall. His eyes narrowed. Something was drifting near the outpost, something big enough to trigger the motion sensors. He walked closer to the screen. The radar showed an unidentified ship slowly approaching, turning on its axis as if it had no one to control it. It was old, covered in strange markings that didn't match any recent designs. It wasn't sending any signals, no request for docking support, no identification code, nothing. Just a silent, damaged vessel drifting toward the outpost like a ghost dot. He stood there for a moment, debating whether he should ignore it or report it. But then the ship hit a small rock patch, and a section of its outer hull broke away. That made his heart jump a little. A completely dead ship floating around. Space could be dangerous if it got too close. He took a slow breath. Curiosity and concern pushed him forward. He grabbed his toolkit, strapped it onto his belt, and walked toward his small inspection shuttle. He powered it up, and the engine gave a soft whine. Once he got clearance from the system, he detached from the outpost and started carefully moving toward the drifting ship outside. Everything was dark except for the stars. The mysterious ship looked even more damaged from up close. Its right wing was dented, the back thrusters were dark, and a large burn mark stretched across the surface, as if it had survived some kind of explosion. There were long scratches carved into the metal, two deep ones that made him wonder what could have caused them. He circled around the ship, scanning it from all angles, hoping to detect signs of life. But the readings remained flat. He didn't know if anyone had escaped or if the crew was gone. Ships didn't just travel empty in this region. Something was off. Finally, he docked his shuttle onto the side of the ship and used a manual override to force the entrance hatch open. The metal door groaned loudly as he pulled it aside. Inside, the air smelled like smoke and burnt wiring. The whole place felt dark and abandoned. Only a few weak emergency lights flickered, giving a faint view of the hallway. Dust floated in. The air and panels hung loose from the ceiling. He stepped inside carefully, trying not to disturb anything. Every few steps, he would stop, listen, and look around. He moved down the main corridor, checking rooms one by one. They were all empty. Chairs overturned, bags left open, half-eaten rations still stuck to the walls. It felt like the crew had rushed out. He kept scanning each area, but the life detector on his wrist showed nothing. He reached the cargo bay, and the door barely opened. He pushed hard and squeezed through. The bay was huge, with crates stacked all the way to the ceiling. Some had broken open, spilling strange metal parts across the floor. Others had fallen over and cracked. The deeper he went, the more he felt something strange in the air, a faint sound, like a soft echo, almost like breathing or tiny whimpers. He stopped walking. He listened again. There it was, a tiny trembling sound coming from the far left corner. He wasn't sure if it was a creature, a damaged machine, or something else entirely. He tightened his grip on the flashlight and walked toward the sound. When he reached the corner, he almost stopped breathing. There, hidden in the shadows, chained to a metal hook in the wall, was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. It had a body shaped almost like a dog, but its fur glowed softly in different colors: blue, purple, and a faint silver shine that shimmered every time it moved. Its eyes were bright and crystal-like, looking almost too beautiful for such a dark place, But the creature didn't look powerful or dangerous. It looked weak. Its fur was dull in some areas, and the chains around its legs were thick and tight. It was lying on the floor as if it didn't have the strength to move. Every breath it took sounded painful. He felt a sudden rush of sadness and disbelief. Why would anyone leave a creature like this trapped inside a dying ship? Why chain it so tightly? It didn't make sense. He moved a little closer, and the creature lifted its head just enough to look at him. Its eyes were scared but soft, not aggressive. He crouched down slowly, making sure not to scare it. The chain was heavy alien metal, thick enough to hold something very strong. It looked like it hadn't been opened in a long time. "It's okay," he said gently, unsure if the creature could understand. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature blinked slowly, as if trying to believe him. He looked around for keys or tools left behind, but the area was empty. Whoever owned this ship had left in a hurry without thinking twice about the creature. That thought made him feel a strange anger and sadness. Even if it was not from Earth, it still deserved kindness. He reached for his toolkit and pulled out a cutting device. It was small but powerful enough to break through most metals. He aimed it carefully at the chain, making sure not to touch the creature. The sparks lit up the dark room as the cutter made contact. The creature flinched at the first spark, but quickly realized he wasn't hurting it. After a couple of minutes of cutting, one of the chains snapped and fell to the floor with a loud clang. The creature tried to stand, but its legs were shaking too much. He cut the second chain, then the third, and finally the last one. Once free, the creature attempted to stand again, wobbling on weak legs. It took a step forward, but then stumbled and nearly fell. He caught it just in time, supporting its weight. The creature rested its head against his arm, exhausted and scared, but trusting enough to let him hold it. "You've been here alone for a long time," he whispered, feeling a mix of worry and responsibility. He lifted the creature carefully and carried it toward the entrance. It was warm, but too weak to survive for long without help. As he passed the broken crates and flickering lights, he felt a strange sense of urgency. This wasn't just some alien animal. Something about the way it held on to him, the way it looked at him with its crystal eyes, made him feel like it needed him more than anything right now. When he reached his shuttle, he laid the creature gently on a soft thermal blanket. It curled itself slightly, trying to rest. He gave it a small amount of water, and it drank slowly, watching him with those glowing eyes that seemed to hold a silent question. Once he shut the shuttle door, he took one last look at the abandoned alien ship drifting outside. The more he thought about it, the clearer it became saving the creature was the right decision. Leaving it there would have been cruel. He powered up the shuttle and slowly returned to the outpost, carrying the strange being whose presence already felt important. He didn't know what it was, why it had been chained, or what had happened on that ship. But he knew one thing. Whatever this creature was, its story was far from over, and now he was part of it. Back at the outpost, the mechanic carefully carried the alien creature into his small workshop. The creature's glowing fur pulsed faintly in the dim light, and it looked around nervously, ears twitching at every small sound. It was clearly exhausted, but it also had a sharp awareness in its eyes, as if it was trying to understand everything in its new surroundings. The mechanic set the creature down on a soft blanket he had spread across a workbench. It hesitated for a moment, sniffing the air and looking at the strange tools and machines surrounding it. Then, slowly, it curled up, resting its head on its paws. The mechanic knelt nearby, studying it, feeling both curiosity and concern. "I'm not going to hurt you," he whispered. "You're safe here." The creature blinked slowly, almost as if it understood, and let out a quiet whine. Its body was tense, muscles tight from months or maybe years of being chained. He could see small wounds on its legs and scratches along its back. Whoever had abandoned it had not cared about its safety or well-being. He sat down on the floor beside the bench, trying to make himself smaller, less threatening. He wanted it to feel comfortable. He gently reached out a hand, letting it sniff him. The alien dog flinched, but did not pull away. Its eyes, glowing faintly, met his. In that moment, there was a quiet understanding between them, a fragile trust beginning to grow. Over the next few hours, the mechanic worked carefully to clean the creature's wounds. He used basic medical supplies, cleaning solutions, and bandages to help stop the bleeding and prevent infection. The creature stayed still for most of it, watching him with curiosity and wariness. Every time he touched a sore spot, it flinched, but never tried to bite or attack Dot. As night fell outside the outpost, the creature finally settled down. Its breathing became slower, more relaxed. The mechanic poured himself a cup of warm drink, keeping an eye on it from across the room. He wondered what it had been through, where it had come from, and why it had been left alone on that damaged ship. He didn't have answers, but he knew one thing: it would need food soon. He opened a storage locker and found a few nutrient packs used for space animals. He didn't know if it would eat them, but he placed a small portion on the blanket. The creature cautiously sniffed the food, its glowing eyes following every move. Slowly, it took a small bite, then another, and soon it was eating steadily. The mechanic felt a wave of relief. It was alive, it was safe, and it was starting to trust him. But he also knew he couldn't leave it alone in the outpost forever. Alien creatures like this were not common. Someone or something might come looking for it. He needed to figure out what to do next. The following morning, he woke to a soft glow filling the workshop. The creature had moved from the blanket to a small corner near the machinery. Its fur shone brighter than the day before, and he noticed something strange. A small generator he had left on overnight had shut down, even though it should have been running. He frowned. Something about the creature seemed unusual. He approached slowly and tapped the generator. It flickered back to life as soon as he was nearby. Then he noticed a faint pulse from the creature, like tiny sparks of energy moving through its body. His eyes widened. This was no ordinary animal. He spent the next several hours observing it. Whenever electrical devices were nearby, the creature would release faint pulses of energy. Lights would flicker, small machines would hum or restart, and even the heating panels would shift slightly in response. It was subtle at first, but undeniable. The mechanic realized something extraordinary. The creature had some kind of energy manipulating ability. That explained why it had been chained on the alien ship. Whoever had owned it must have used its powers to run parts of the ship or power equipment. And then, for some unknown reason, they had abandoned it. Despite the strange abilities, the creature remained gentle. It began following the mechanic around the workshop, moving cautiously but staying close. He would sit at his workbench, and it would lie nearby, watching his every move. Occasionally, it would nuzzle his hand, as if showing gratitude or affection. The mechanic had never had a pet before, but he felt a growing bond. He tried talking to it softly, even though he didn't know if it could understand words. "We'll figure things out together," he said. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." The creature blinked slowly and tilted its head, almost like it was responding. Over the next few days, he worked to learn more about the creature's abilities. He carefully set up small experiments, turning on lights, testing machinery, and observing how it reacted. Each time, the creature would respond, sometimes releasing more energy than expected. He was amazed, but also cautious. This power could be dangerous if uncontrolled. One evening, a sudden storm hit the area near the outpost. Electrical storms in space could be unpredictable and dangerous. The lights flickered and machines shut down. The mechanic watched the creature, expecting it to panic. Instead, it glowed brighter, and slowly, the workshop lights flickered back on, powered by the energy it emitted. He realized just how extraordinary it was. This creature wasn't just an animal. It could help him in ways he had never imagined. But he also knew this ability made it a target. If anyone discovered it, they would try to take it away, just like the crew of the damaged ship had done as the days went on. The mechanic and the creature settled into a routine. He would work on repairing ships and machines, while the creature stayed nearby, sometimes helping in small ways, sometimes just resting. They communicated in subtle ways, glances, gestures, and soft sounds. The bond between them grew stronger every day, but the mechanic never let his guard down. He knew the creature's past was mysterious and potentially dangerous. He kept the doors locked, checked the outpost's perimeter, and stayed alert for any unusual signals. Yet, he also began to feel something he had not felt in a long time. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this creature had chosen him for a reason. One night, as he watched the stars from the workshop window, the creature climbed onto a crate beside him. Its eyes glowed softly, reflecting the distant light of the stars. He reached out and touched its head. The warmth and energy radiating from it was comforting. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. "I'll make sure no one hurts you again." The creature leaned into his hand, its small body trembling slightly, not from fear, but from relief. For the first time, it seemed truly at peace. The mechanic knew that rescuing it had only been the beginning. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead, or who might come looking for it. But he did know one thing. Together, they could face whatever came next. And somehow, he had a feeling that this creature, strange and powerful as it was, had a story far bigger than either of them could imagine. As the workshop lights dimmed for the night, the mechanic finally allowed himself to rest. The creature curled beside him, still glowing softly. For the first time in a long while, the silence of the outpost felt safe. The quiet was no longer lonely. It was shared. And in that shared quiet, a bond was forming that neither time nor space could break. The days ahead would be full of challenges, discoveries, and dangers. But for now, in the soft glow of the alien creature's fur, the mechanic felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. He had saved a life, but in return, the creature had given him something equally precious: trust, companionship, and the promise of adventure. And with that promise, neither of them would ever be the same again. The mechanic woke early the next morning, the soft hum of the outpost already buzzing in the background. The alien creature had shifted during the night and was now resting near the small workbench. Its glowing fur was brighter than usual, and the rhythmic pulse of its energy seemed almost like a heartbeat. The mechanic sat down, staring at it, trying to understand what he was dealing with. He had spent the past few days learning its habits, its reactions, and its patterns. He had seen it eat, sleep, and explore the workshop carefully. But last night had shown him something new, something that made his heart race with both excitement and concern. The creature wasn't just a helpless being. It had abilities far beyond any animal he had ever seen. He remembered the power it had released during the electrical storm. That small, controlled energy pulse had restored power to the workshop. It had saved them both. He reached out slowly, letting the creature sniff his hand, and whispered, "You're amazing. But I need to understand you better." The creature blinked slowly, tilting its head, almost as if it understood. It nudged his hand gently, a soft, trusting gesture. The mechanic smiled. He knew he couldn't rush it. This bond between them had grown in the quiet of the outpost, slowly and carefully, and he didn't want to risk breaking it. For the next few hours, he began testing its abilities in small, controlled ways. He placed a low-voltage device on the bench and switched it on. The device hummed weakly and failed to work properly. The creature, noticing the small flicker of light, stepped closer. Its fur began to glow, softly at first, then brighter. He watched in awe as the device hummed louder, lights flickered on, and tiny motors started running. "It's you," he said quietly. "You did this." The creature looked up at him, eyes bright, as if acknowledging the compliment. He could feel a strange energy radiating from it, warming his hand and sending a faint tingle across his skin. It wasn't dangerous yet. It seemed controlled, careful, almost intelligent. He realized he had never seen anything like this. The creature's power wasn't random. It was purposeful. It reacted to the environment, to his presence, and even to the intentions behind his actions. Whoever had chained it on that ship had known its value. Whoever had abandoned it had shown no understanding at all. Curiosity drove him further. He set up a series of small experiments over the next several days. Lights, small motors, and even old tools that required energy to function. Each time, the creature responded, sometimes creating energy to power a small device, sometimes causing a soft glow that lit the room. It was subtle at first, then more noticeable. He noted each response carefully in his log, sketching diagrams and writing observations. This creature wasn't just an animal. It was something extraordinary, maybe even unique. He thought about telling someone, calling experts, or reaching out to authorities. But deep down he hesitated. If anyone else discovered it, they would try to take it away, just like the crew of the damaged ship had done. He couldn't let that happen. One evening, while he was cleaning a small section of the workshop, the creature wandered over to a stack of storage crates. It sniffed around curiously, then nudged a small, broken device toward him. He picked it up and examined it. The device had been completely dead for months, yet the creature had somehow triggered a spark that brought it back to life. He couldn't stop himself from smiling. "You're incredible," he said softly. "I've never met anything like you." The creature wagged a small, tail-like appendage, glowing faintly. He reached out to touch it, feeling the warmth of the energy pulsing beneath its fur. It was gentle, controlled, and somehow reassuring. Over the next few days, he noticed other signs of intelligence. The creature would anticipate when he needed a tool, nudging it toward him, or it would move objects slightly out of the way to give him space. It had memory, awareness, and a kind of problem-solving ability that made him marvel. But there was also a vulnerability. Its body was still weak from being chained for so long. Some days it slept more than others, its energy pulses slower, weaker. He made sure to give it food, rest, and care, but he knew it needed more than just survival. It needed safety, stability, and a place where it could truly grow without fear. One night, a sudden power fluctuation caused the workshop lights to flicker and some machinery to stop working. The mechanic tensed, reaching for his emergency tools. But the creature reacted first. Its glow brightened almost instantly, and the lights stabilized. The humming of the machines returned, powered not by wires or batteries, but by the energy the creature was generating. He stared at it, amazed. It was a living generator, intelligent and responsive. He reached out and touched its glowing fur. The warmth and energy tingled through him, and he realized something important. This creature had saved him as much as he had saved it. The following days were filled with careful observation and learning. He tried to understand the limits of its abilities without pushing it too far. He discovered that its energy could power small machines for hours, but prolonged use left it exhausted. He also noticed that its glow and energy levels seemed connected to its emotions. When it was calm and comfortable, the energy was steady and controlled. When it was scared or stressed, it would pulse wildly, unpredictable and dangerous. He started talking to it more, using soft tones and gestures. He didn't know if it understood words, but it responded to the tone, the intent behind them. He called it the companion in his log, though he didn't yet give it a name. It wasn't just an experiment. It was a living being, a friend, and maybe the closest companion he had ever had. One morning, while repairing a small engine, he noticed something unexpected. The creature, lying quietly on the floor, suddenly lifted its head and stepped toward a broken panel. Its glow intensified, and with a faint, controlled pulse, the panel slid open slightly, revealing a hidden compartment. He gasped. It had discovered something on its own, without any instruction. He opened the compartment and found a small data chip, covered in dust, but still intact. Carefully, he inserted it into a reader. The chip contained logs from the abandoned ship, the crew's logs, their experiments, and their notes on the creature. The entries revealed a shocking truth. The creature had been part of experiments to generate energy for long-distance space travel. The logs mentioned it being highly intelligent, valuable, and difficult to control. Some crew members had grown attached, but others saw it only as a tool. The mechanic read each line with a mix of awe and sadness. He now understood why it had been chained, why it had been left behind. It wasn't just a pet or an animal. It had been treated as a machine, a source of power, a tool to be used and discarded. And yet, here it was, showing him loyalty, intelligence, and trust. He looked at the creature, lying nearby, its glow dimming slightly as it rested. He felt a surge of protectiveness. He would never treat it that way. It would never be just a tool for him. It would be a companion, a friend, and something he would do everything to protect. Over the next few days, he focused on strengthening its body, feeding it, giving it rest, and allowing it to explore safely. He also experimented carefully with its energy abilities, learning how to channel them for work around the workshop. He realized that, with care, the creature could help him repair equipment more efficiently, provide energy in emergencies, and even protect the outpost if danger came. But he also felt a quiet worry. The logs made it clear that others knew about the creature's abilities. Whoever discovered it next might not be as kind. He began thinking about contingency plans, hidden rooms, alarms, and ways to protect it if someone arrived looking for it. Even as he planned, the bond between them grew stronger. The creature started following him more closely, sitting nearby as he worked, nuzzling his hand, or resting its head against his knee. He felt a deep sense of connection he hadn't known before. It wasn't just about saving a life. It was about trust, understanding, and companionship. Late one evening, he looked out the window at the stars. The outpost was quiet, the workshop filled with the soft hum of powered machinery. The creature lay beside him, glowing faintly, calm, and peaceful. He reached out and stroked its fur, feeling the warmth of its energy pulsing beneath his hand. "You've been through so much," he whispered. "But you're not alone anymore. I'll take care of you, no matter what." The creature blinked slowly, lifting its head slightly, eyes reflecting the distant starlight. In that silent moment, the mechanic felt a promise pass between them, a promise that they would face the future together. Whatever challenges it might hold, he knew that the creature's abilities were extraordinary, and that danger could come at any time. But for now, he allowed himself to relax, knowing that trust had been earned and friendship had been formed. They had both been saved in different ways, and together, they were stronger than either could be alone. The next chapter of their story had yet to unfold. But one thing was certain. The bond between the mechanic and the alien creature was real, unbreakable, and just beginning to show its true power. The mechanic thought the quiet days at the outpost would last forever. He had grown used to the soft hum of machinery, the glow of the alien creature by his side, and the calm routine of repairing ships and equipment. But that peace was about to change in ways he could never have predicted dot, it started with a faint alert on the outpost's main console. A small panel blinked red, signaling a nearby ship entering the vicinity. He frowned, watching the scanner carefully. The readings were unusual fast, precise, and clearly intentional. Someone was approaching the outpost with purpose. He felt a sudden tension in his chest. He knew immediately that this wasn't a friendly visit. He glanced at the alien creature, which was lying quietly on the workshop floor. Its eyes flickered, noticing his sudden unease. He crouched down beside it, stroking its glowing fur. "Stay calm," he whispered. "Whatever this is, we'll face it together." Moments later, a group of ships appeared on the scanner. They weren't ordinary traders or travelers. Their designs were sleek, aggressive, and military-like. The display identified them as bounty ships pirates, or perhaps mercenaries, working for someone who wanted something they didn't own. The mechanic's heart sank. He realized immediately what they must be after. The creature. He quickly scanned the outpost perimeter. The main doors could be locked, but they wouldn't hold against determined attackers. Panic tried to rise, but he forced it down. He had to think clearly. He had to protect the creature dot as the first ship docked outside the airlock. Alarms blared. The outpost's automated security system activated, flashing red lights across the corridors. The mechanic's hands moved quickly, activating locks and preparing tools that could be used in a defensive situation. The creature, sensing his tension, stood up. Its fur glowed brighter than ever before, as if it knew danger had arrived. The doors of the ship hissed open, and a team of armed aliens stepped into the outpost. Their armor gleamed, their weapons pointed, and their eyes scanned the area methodically. One of them barked orders in a language the mechanic didn't understand. He realized immediately they were looking for the creature. They knew about its abilities. They had come to claim it. He backed away slowly, keeping a hand on the glowing fur of the creature. "You're not taking it," he said firmly, even though his voice shook slightly. The aliens didn't respond. They moved closer, and one of them fired a small stun device toward him. He dodged just in time, the device hitting the wall and sparking. The creature reacted instantly. Its glow intensified, pulsing with energy. A wave of power surged from it, knocking the aliens back and causing their weapons to short-circuit. Sparks flew, and the first attacker fell to the ground, stunned. The mechanic realized the creature was trying to protect him, just as he had protected it. He grabbed a small portable barricade from the workshop and placed it between them and the attackers. "Stay behind me," he shouted. The creature obeyed, moving close to him and crouching low. Its eyes glowed with intensity, every muscle tense, ready to react to the next move. The remaining attackers regrouped quickly. They advanced cautiously, clearly realizing that the creature was not ordinary. One of them aimed a heavier weapon, and the mechanic braced himself, unsure if they could withstand the next attack. He glanced at the creature. It was panting slightly, its glow flickering, showing signs of fatigue. He knew it couldn't keep this up for long. Thinking quickly, he grabbed a nearby crate and rolled it toward a control panel. Sparks flew as the crate hit the panel, triggering the outpost's emergency lockdown system. Doors slammed shut, corridors locked, and alarms blared throughout the station. The attackers were momentarily trapped, giving the mechanic and the creature a small advantage. He moved swiftly, guiding the creature to a hidden corner of the workshop. It followed him without hesitation, trusting him completely. "This way," he whispered. "We'll figure this out." He knew the outpost wasn't designed for combat, but it had enough nooks and compartments to give them a chance if they used them wisely. The creature's glow dimmed slightly as it crouched low, its energy still pulsing, but controlled. The mechanic watched it closely, realizing that while it was powerful, it was not invincible. He needed to protect it, guide it, and make decisions fast. The attackers tried to force their way into the workshop. One of them fired a stun shot, which the creature deflected instinctively with a wave of energy. The room shook slightly, lights flickered, and the mechanic felt the warmth of the energy pulse across his skin. He reached out and steadied the creature, whispering, "You're okay. I've got you." Time seemed to stretch. Each moment was tense, each movement critical. The mechanic knew that if the attackers realized the creature's limits, they would exploit them. He began thinking of a plan. The outpost had old cargo compartments, some of which were connected to hidden tunnels used for emergency evacuations. If he could lure the attackers into a trap, they might be able to escape. He nudged the creature toward one of the larger crates. "Follow me," he said softly. It obeyed, moving with him silently, eyes glowing and alert. He led them through a series of narrow passages, making careful use of the creature's energy to disable security cameras and short-circuit the lights, creating confusion for the attackers. The aliens followed, unaware of the traps ahead. One of them stepped on a pressure plate, triggering a small electric discharge that sent sparks flying and knocked him back. The mechanic and the creature moved past, hearts racing, adrenaline pumping. The creature seemed almost to enjoy the control it had over the environment, using its abilities in ways that were both defensive and strategic. Finally, they reached a hidden compartment near the back of the outpost. The mechanic quickly closed the heavy doors, securing them from the inside. The creature collapsed against the wall, exhausted but unharmed. The mechanic knelt beside it, brushing a few strands of glowing fur away from its eyes. "You did amazing," he whispered. "I couldn't have done it without you." The muffled sounds of the attackers outside reminded him that the danger was far from over. They were strong, persistent, and clearly knew what they wanted. But the mechanic felt a new sense of confidence. Together, he and the creature had faced danger and survived. They had a bond, a shared understanding, and now, experience in defending themselves as the hours passed. The attackers tried different methods to breach the compartment, but the mechanic used the creature's abilities and his knowledge of the outpost's layout to keep them at bay. Every time the alien dog emitted a pulse of energy, the attackers hesitated, their weapons disabled or their movement slowed. The creature's intelligence and instinct combined with his quick thinking to create a defense neither had trained for. But both executed perfectly. Eventually, the attackers retreated, realizing that holding the outpost by force would be impossible without risking heavy losses. The mechanic watched from the hidden compartment as their ships departed, engines glowing faintly in the distance. A deep sense of relief washed over him. He exhaled slowly, looking down at the creature, whose glow had dimmed but was still steady. "You're safe now," he said, stroking its fur gently. "We made it." The creature lifted its head, blinking slowly, as if acknowledging his words. Its small energy pulses felt like warmth and reassurance, a silent promise that they would continue to protect each other. The experience had changed them both. The mechanic realized the creature wasn't just a companion. It was a partner, a being capable of extraordinary things, but still vulnerable and needing care. He knew he couldn't stay at the outpost forever. Whoever had sent the attackers might return, and the creature would be a target again. They needed a plan, a way to stay safe, and a way to explore the possibilities of its abilities without fear. For the first time, the mechanic thought about leaving. The outpost had been his home, but it was no longer safe. And yet, the idea of leaving brought a strange excitement. Beyond the safety of the station, beyond the limits of the known space, there might be a world where the creature could exist freely, without chains, without danger, and without fear. He looked at the glowing companion, lying quietly now, exhausted but alive. He reached out and touched its head gently. "We're going to find a better place," he whispered. a place where no one can hurt you. And together, we'll discover what you're truly capable of." The creature responded with a soft glow, almost like a nod. In that moment, the mechanic knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. They had survived danger, they had discovered trust, and now they were ready for the next step. The quiet of the hidden compartment returned, but it was different now. It was not just calm, it was filled with purpose, with hope, and with a shared understanding. They had survived the first real test. And as the stars outside the window twinkled faintly, the mechanic knew that their journey was only beginning. They were ready for whatever came next, together. The mechanic knew that danger could return at any time. The previous attack had been a warning, a reminder that the alien creature's abilities made it a target. As he sat in the hidden compartment with the creature resting beside him, he felt a mix of exhaustion and determination. They had survived, but survival was not enough. He needed a plan to ensure the creature's safety, and he knew he couldn't do it alone. He studied the creature carefully. Its glow was steady, but weaker than usual. The battle had drained it. Every pulse of energy seemed to take effort. He reached out, placing a hand on its back. "I need to help you recover," he whispered. "We can't do this if you're too tired." He gathered supplies from the workshop: nutrient packs, energy stabilizers, and soft blankets. He created a small nest in the corner, gently placing the creature inside. It rested its head on his arm, letting him care for it without resistance. For the first time, he noticed subtle signs of pain, small winces when it shifted, slight tremors in its legs. Whoever had chained it before had left scars, both visible and invisible. He made a mental note to keep it calm and safe. As he worked, he thought about the future. Staying at the outpost was no longer an option. The attackers had left, but they would return, and probably with reinforcements. The creature couldn't remain in one place. He needed to move it somewhere safe, somewhere unknown to the galaxy, where no one could track them. But moving through space with an untrained alien energy being was risky. He would need preparation, careful planning, and trust. The creature stirred, lifting its head and blinking slowly. Its eyes met his, glowing faintly in the dim light. He reached out to stroke its fur. "I promise you," he said softly, "I'll keep you safe. I won't let anyone hurt you again." It nuzzled his hand, a quiet reassurance, a silent bond that strengthened his resolve. He knew then that this was no longer just about survival. It was about partnership, trust, and understanding the potential of what they could do together. That evening, he decided to test the creature's abilities gently, in a controlled manner. He placed a small device on the floor, a simple power generator, and watched closely. The creature approached it cautiously, sniffing and blinking its glowing eyes. Slowly, it extended a paw-like limb toward the device, and energy pulsed from its body, activating the generator. The lights flickered and stabilized, motors hummed, and small sparks danced across the floor. The mechanic was amazed. It was clear that the creature could produce controlled energy bursts, enough to power complex machines. But he also noticed how much effort it required. After the brief display, the creature collapsed back onto the blanket, panting slightly. He knew that using its abilities recklessly could harm it. He needed to learn how to channel its energy safely. Over the next several days, he focused on training and recovery. Gentle exercises, careful observation, and consistent feeding helped the creature regain strength. The mechanic also experimented with small devices that could absorb or regulate its energy, creating a safe interface to prevent exhaustion. Each success strengthened their bond and increased his confidence. But the universe had other plans. One night, while they were resting, a sudden alarm echoed through the outpost. Red lights flashed across the walls, and a deep vibration shook the floor. The mechanic's heart raced. Outside, he could see the approach of alien ships faster, more numerous than before. These attackers were different. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to take the creature, no matter the cost. The mechanic moved quickly, guiding the creature to the hidden compartment. It followed instinctively, trusting him completely. As the first attackers breached the outer doors, he felt the familiar surge of fear. But fear was not enough to stop them. He had learned to act, to think, to protect the creature with every resource at his disposal. The attackers entered, weapons raised. The creature's glow intensified immediately, a bright, protective pulse that lit the corridor. Energy waves shot out, causing the first wave of attackers to stumble, their weapons shorting out. The mechanic grabbed a few portable barricades, rolling them into position to slow the intruders. Time slowed. Each movement mattered. The creature released controlled bursts of energy, knocking back attackers and disabling their advanced weapons. The mechanic guided it, shouting instructions and encouragement. Now, block the door. Quick! Together, they were a force neither fully understood. It wasn't just strength, it was instinct, intelligence, and trust working together in perfect sync. Despite their efforts, the creature began to tire. Its glow dimmed slightly, pulses slower, every burst of energy taking more from it than before. The mechanic realized that if they continued like this, it could be exhausted or even injured. He needed a new plan, something that would end the standoff without pushing the creature too far. Then he remembered the old energy regulators he had set up for testing. Quickly, he grabbed them and positioned the devices near the workshop entrance. This might help, he muttered, connecting cables to stabilize the creature's energy flow. The devices absorbed excess power, redirecting it safely back into small backup systems. The creature pulsed one last time, a bright surge of energy that knocked the remaining attackers off balance. The mechanic seized the moment, locking the doors behind him. The aliens fell back, confused and disoriented, and soon the last of them retreated, leaving the outpost in silence once more. The mechanic immediately rushed to the creature, checking for injuries. It lay on the blanket, breathing heavily but alive. Its glow returned gradually as he stroked its fur, whispering words of reassurance. "It's okay. You did it. You're safe now." He realized the true cost of the encounter. The creature had given everything it had to protect them both. Its loyalty and bravery were extraordinary, but he couldn't risk it again in the same way. They needed to leave. Over the next few days, he prepared a small transport shuttle. He reinforced it, hid compartments for safety, and stocked supplies for a long journey. The creature recovered slowly, regaining strength while resting inside the shuttle. Every day, he monitored its energy, adjusting devices to make sure it would not overexert itself. Finally, the day came. The outpost was quiet, the air calm. The mechanic opened the shuttle doors and helped the creature inside. It moved carefully, its glowing eyes following him closely, trusting him completely. He sat beside it in the cockpit, fastening safety restraints and checking navigation systems. "Are you ready?" he asked softly. The creature leaned against him slightly, a quiet affirmation. He started the engines, feeling the familiar hum beneath his hands. The shuttle lifted off the outpost, gliding through space. The stars stretched out before them, endless and full of possibility. For the first time in weeks, the mechanic allowed himself a moment of relief. They had survived the attacks, protected one another, and escaped danger. But he knew this was only the beginning. Out there in the galaxy, countless threats awaited others who might want the creature for their own purposes. Yet, as he looked at the glowing companion beside him, he felt hope. Together, they were stronger than anyone could have anticipated. Trust had been built in the quiet moments, in the battles, and in the shared understanding between them. They weren't just survivor and rescued. They were partners, friends, and something more. The stars streaked past as they navigated through space. The mechanic allowed himself to dream of a place where the creature could exist freely, without fear, without chains, and without danger. Somewhere unknown, safe, and full of life. He didn't know where it was yet, but he knew they would find it together. He reached out, stroking the creature's glowing fur. "We'll get there," he whispered. "No one can take you from me. Not ever." The creature nuzzled him softly, energy pulsing gently beneath his hand. As if agreeing dot, as the shuttle glided through the darkness of space, the mechanic felt a quiet determination settle in his heart. They had faced danger, they had survived, and they had proven something extraordinary. Together, they were unstoppable. Whatever the galaxy held for them next, they would face it as one. And for the first time, the mechanic truly believed that no matter what challenges awaited, they could overcome them. The alien creature, once chained and abandoned, now glowed brightly beside him, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the unbreakable bond between them. The journey ahead was unknown, full of risks, discoveries, and possibilities. But one thing was certain: they had each other, and together, nothing could stop them. The shuttle glided silently through the endless expanse of space. The mechanic sat in the cockpit, hands steady on the controls, eyes scanning the stars. Beside him, the alien creature rested on a soft blanket, glowing softly in the dim light. Its energy pulsed gently, calm but alive, a reminder of the incredible bond they shared. After everything they had faced, the chains, the attacks, the fear, they had finally found a moment of peace. But the mechanic knew that peace was fragile. Space was vast and full of unknown dangers. Others could still be searching for the creature, drawn by the stories or the records left behind on the abandoned ship. He could feel it in his gut, a warning that their journey was far from over. He reached over, gently touching the creature's glowing fur. "We'll be okay," he whispered. "We'll find a place where no one can hurt you." The creature nuzzled his hand, soft and trusting, as if it understood every word. Its energy pulsed slightly, a quiet acknowledgement. For the next several days, they traveled through uncharted regions of space, avoiding known trade routes and scanning for signs of danger. The mechanic used every skill he had, every piece of knowledge gained from years of repairing and piloting, to stay undetected. The creature seemed to sense his caution, staying close, alert, yet calm. Together, they moved with care, relying on trust and instinct. During these long hours of travel, the mechanic learned more about the creature. Its energy pulses were not just powerful, they were responsive. When he was careful and calm, the pulses were steady, controlled. When danger loomed, the energy surged instinctively, reacting faster than he could. It was almost as if the creature could read the environment, predict threats, and act in ways no ordinary being could. One morning, as they passed near a dense asteroid field, the shuttle's sensors picked up a faint signal. It was weak, irregular, and clearly artificial. The mechanic frowned. Someone or something was out there. He slowed the shuttle, trying to trace the origin. The creature stirred, eyes glowing brightly, energy pulsing in subtle waves. He realized it was aware of the signal too, its instincts alerting it to potential danger. Carefully, they approached the source. It was a small satellite, damaged and barely functioning. But inside, the signal was coming from a hidden transmitter. The mechanic's mind raced. Could it be someone looking for them? Or was it a remnant from another outpost? A warning left behind? He decided to disable it before it could reveal their location. The creature watched him closely as he prepared tools. Then, without warning, it extended a limb and gently touched the transmitter. A pulse of energy surged from its body, and the satellite flickered, then powered down completely. The mechanic stared in awe. The creature had done it instinctively, protecting them both without hesitation. It wasn't just powerful. It was smart, aware, and protective in ways he had never imagined. After that incident, he realized that their journey would require careful planning, courage, and trust. They couldn't simply hide forever. The galaxy was too vast, too connected. They needed a destination, a safe place, where the creature could live freely, without fear, without being hunted. He began searching star charts, ancient maps, and old navigation logs. Weeks passed as he filtered through thousands of possibilities. The creature stayed close, sometimes nuzzling him for reassurance, sometimes emitting soft pulses of energy that lit the shuttle interior like stars. They had settled into a rhythm, traveling, scanning, resting, learning to understand one another more deeply every day. Finally, he founded a small, uncharted planet on the edge of known space. The readings were promising: breathable atmosphere, abundant resources, and no signs of previous settlements. It was remote, isolated, and perfect for a new beginning. His heart raced with anticipation. This could be the place they had been searching for, a place where the creature could finally be free. As they descended toward the planet, the creature's energy pulsed steadily, calm and strong. The mechanic guided the shuttle through the clouds, marveling at the landscape below. Forests stretched across vast plains, rivers glittered in the sunlight, and mountains rose majestically in the distance. It was a world untouched, full of life, yet quiet and safe. The shuttle touched down gently on a soft patch of land. The mechanic opened the hatch slowly, letting fresh air fill the cabin. The creature stepped out cautiously, sniffing the ground, ears twitching, eyes glowing softly. Then, as if sensing safety, it moved more confidently, exploring the new environment. Its tail-like appendage swished slowly, and it let out a soft, joyful sound that made the mechanic smile. "This is it," he said quietly. "This is your home now." Over the next days, they explored the area around the shuttle. The mechanic set up a small shelter, using parts of the shuttle and local materials to create a safe space for the creature. He also began observing the environment, ensuring there were no hidden dangers or predators. The creature moved freely, testing its abilities, releasing gentle pulses of energy that seemed to harmonize with the natural environment. It was learning, adapting, and thriving. The mechanic felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They had survived attacks, danger, and the unknown, but now they could finally begin to live. The bond between them had grown beyond mere companionship. It was mutual respect, trust, and shared understanding. The creature had saved him as much as he had saved it, and together they had overcome what seemed impossible. One afternoon, as they rested near a river, the mechanic watched the creature playfully interact with the surroundings. Its glowing fur reflected in the water, creating a spectacle of light and color. He realized that for the first time, the creature could truly be itself, free, unchained, and safe. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about life, growth, and happiness. He smiled, feeling a warmth in his chest. "You deserve this," he said softly. "Everything from now on is yours to explore, to enjoy, to live freely." The creature tilted its head, glowing brighter for a moment, as if acknowledging his words. That night, under a sky filled with countless stars, they rested side by side. The mechanic reflected on their journey from the abandoned ship, the chains, the battles, and the escapes to this moment of peace. It had been a journey of courage, trust, and resilience. He realized that the universe was vast and unpredictable, but together they had found strength, hope, and safety. The creature's energy pulsed gently, a rhythm that matched the mechanic's breathing. In that quiet moment, he understood something profound. Life was not just about surviving. It was about connection, trust, and the willingness to protect what mattered most. The creature had taught him that, just as he had taught it to trust again. Days turned into weeks as they settled on the planet. The mechanic built small devices powered by the creature's energy, creating lights, warmth, and tools that made life easier. The creature explored the forests, rivers, and mountains, learning about the new world, releasing energy in safe, playful ways. They discovered plants, small animals, and hidden caves, all untouched and perfect for their new home. The mechanic felt a quiet joy watching the creature thrive. It was no longer a being in chains, no longer hunted, no longer afraid. It was alive, free, and happy. And he, too, felt alive, connected to something extraordinary, something worth protecting with every ounce of his being. One evening, as they watched the sun set over distant mountains, the mechanic reached out to touch the creature's glowing fur. "We've come so far," he whispered, "and we'll go even further, together." The creature rested its head against his shoulder, soft energy pulsing in harmony with his heartbeat. He knew their journey was not over. There would always be challenges in the galaxy, dangers they couldn't predict, and tests of courage they couldn't foresee. But for now, they had found a place of safety, a home, and each other. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. As the stars appeared in the night sky, reflecting in the calm rivers and forests, the mechanic and the alien creature sat together, a quiet bond of trust and friendship glowing between them. They had faced fear, danger, and the unknown, and together they had triumphed. For the first time, both felt complete. Together, they had survived, learned, and finally found peace. And together, they would face whatever the future held. Side by side, unbreakable, and free. The journey had begun with a chain, a damaged ship, and fear, but it ended with trust, freedom, and a bond that no force in the universe could break. The mechanic and the alien creature were no longer just survivor and rescued. They were partners, friends, and family. And the galaxy, wide and unpredictable, was theirs to explore together.